Today, I want to walk you through one of the newer reports inside MyCase that I think is going to be incredibly valuable for law firms that do hourly billing. And that is a new report called Work in Progress. And I will call it a WIP report. If you own a law firm or you manage the billing for a law firm, this report answers a really important question. What work has already been completed but has not yet been invoiced? And honestly, this is where I see a lot of firms leaking money because many firms think that they have a collections problem when many times they first have a billing delay problem. If time is sitting unbilled for weeks or months, cash flow is automatically delayed before the invoice even goes out the door. So today I want to show you this report. I want to show you where to find it, how you can customize it, what the data means, and how I would use this as a fractional CFO for law firms. Let's jump into MyCase. Now, I have demo access, meaning this is not a live file. So any information in here, nothing in here is privileged. But I've logged into MyCase, into my account, and it takes you first to the home screen. You want to go to reports and then scroll down towards the bottom, and under the productivity report section, work in progress. Now, just as a side note, if you are on basic or pro plans for MyCase, you will not have this report available to you. This report's only available to those who are on the advanced plan in MyCase. But when you get down here and you click on this report, it's going to generate the report. And a new feature that MyCase rolled out, I think earlier in 2026, maybe the end of 25, is the ability to customize reports, which is a game changer. So first, let's just start. The report starts here. And if your screen is blank to begin with, then that just means that the report's never been generated. If that's the case, you would click refresh and it would generate. So like right here, I can just refresh the screen and it's going to bring in the new information, the current information. So let's walk through this. So we've got work in progress report. It tells you the last time that this was run. It's going to tell you the total of unbilled hours, the total of unbilled flat fees plus time entries. So if you're doing flat fees and or hourly billing, this is going to give you the value. Any unbilled expenses, and right now this demo file doesn't have any unbilled expenses, but right now total WIP is $4,600. So what does that mean to me? As a fractional CFO, I'm looking at this and I am saying, oh my gosh, we have worked and or incurred expenses if there were any client expenses in here. But at this point, we have worked $4,600 worth of time, or we've provided services to our clients for $4,600 worth that has not yet been billed. And do me a favor, if you are a monthly, hourly billing law firm, before you start your next billing cycle, go look at this report and tell me how big that number is. It's huge, which is why I don't encourage firms to stick with the long-standing tradition of monthly bills. If anything, I would tell you to bill weekly, which I know sounds outrageous to some of the larger firms, but I promise you it is well worth the investment to bill weekly because you're getting cash in the door faster. So right here, this is telling me, I have this report. It's telling me $4,600. The firm has rightfully earned. It just needs to be billed. This is cash you're missing in your firm. You can't use it because you haven't billed it yet. You can't collect it until you bill it. Okay. Now, if we had any flat fees that have not yet been billed, so we've drafted the invoice but not yet billed it, it would show up in this section. In here, it's going to detail out the unbilled time entries. So you can see your client, the case, the activity, the date of the time ticket, how many days has this been unbilled, and the total amount that you have ready to bill. If we had advanced client costs that have not yet been billed, that would populate in this section. And then not every firm does this, but if you have subscription-based billing that has been drafted but not yet billed to the client, then those bills would show up in this last section. So what are the things you could do with this report? For me, I don't necessarily focus on the hours, but it's this column here on the, or this block of information over here on the top right. This total WIP is a very critical number for me. So I focus on that. I, as a fractional CFO, I don't necessarily need to know all the time tickets, but it's good to know so that if you see a case in here, if you're getting into like week 2 or 3 of your month, and this is now populated with a bunch of unbilled time entries, you may notice that, oh, hey, that one case closed. We can go ahead and bill that. Okay. So that's why it's nice to be able to have this detail in here. Or especially on the unbilled expenses, what if you have a large expert witness invoice that you've paid 10 grand to a forensic accountant? I'm just throwing out stuff. And you're like, well, why should I wait until the next billing cycle? The client can pay me. Okay. Depending on your practice agreement and your agreement with your clients. So that's why I love this report, because it's going to give you the visibility into the numbers that really can move the needle on your cash flow. Doing work, and then you still have bills to pay. So if you're hourly and you're billing on a monthly cadence, then you still have to pay your rent. You still have to make payroll. You still have to make your insurance payment. You still have things you're paying whether or not you've billed your clients. So the faster you can get billed, the faster the money comes in the door. So a couple things you can do on here is you can print this report. There's a printer icon. You can export it. And just like every report in MyCase, you can either export it as a PDF or as a CSV, which a CSV would be a spreadsheet. You can refresh the data. So if you look here in this last run, it is not today or not this minute that you're opening this report, you can click refresh and it'll refresh these numbers. This report does not refresh when you open it. It pulls in the last time you've run the report. So you'll want to get in the habit of refreshing data. If you want to save this report, now right now, this really wouldn't mean anything, but if I customize it and then click on save report, you can save the customizations, and then it shows up in the save reports section that's at the top of your reports dashboard. Now, how can you customize this? So these options are available on all the reports that you can customize in MyCase. So you can add a filter. Maybe you want to sort by practice area. Maybe you want to, filter. If you want to filter and only show for a certain practice area in your business, in your firm. If you only want to do it by a certain originating attorney, maybe you want to filter by billing type or referral source. So there's just a bunch of different ways in here, and there's the standard fields that are already available in every instance of MyCase. And then down at the bottom are the custom fields that your firm created in your MyCase. So filters, and then you can do it by date range. Now, I got excited over $4,600, but what if all time? Because really, I don't want to filter my WIP report by 30 days. Look at this, $31 million, $31.5 million of WIP. So right away, I would save this report because I want this to show me WIP of all time. And so see now how this has generated. There's unbilled flat fees. So, and you notice, like anything else in MyCase, if there's a underline, if it's in blue and it's underlined, when you hover over it, it's a hyperlink, meaning you can click on it and it takes you to whatever that is. Here's unbilled flat fees. We've got 15 grand, and that's been unbilled for 435 days. So get the bill sent, right? And again, this is fake information, which is why nobody's pressing to get this billed. Now we're looking at unbilled time entries, and you start looking through all of this and look how many. Now you have the client, the case, the activity, the date, how long has it been unbilled, the amount of money. Okay. Unbilled expenses. We have the client, the case, the activity, the date, how many days has it been unbilled, and the total amount of money. Okay. And then we don't have any subscription billing unbilled in this instance. So it is a little alarming to see the number of hours that have been unbilled. But again, I focus on this, in dollars, the total WIP. What are the other customizations? So at this point, I would want to save this. To me is a perfect report. So I want to save this report, and I can just say WIP for all time, because to me, that is what I need this report meaningfully I need it all time, all WIP. So to navigate that, just to see it, if you go into saved reports, it shows up here, and then you just click on that report and it's going to generate this for you. So let's check out what we can customize on this report. So we've already talked about filtering. If we want to do it by, practice area or by originating attorney, I want to select time frame of all. Personally, that's my go-to. I don't know that I would want to ever limit this report on any time frame, but you might have a use case to do that. And so what are the other ways we can customize this report? Well, we've got columns. So there's the default columns are here. You can pin these. You can delete a field that you don't need to know that information. You can rearrange them. Okay, you just drag and drop. You have to hold down the 6 dots to the left of that tile, and you can drag and drop that anywhere you want. If you want to add a column, here's the available, and what's available are your custom fields. We can sort. How do you want to sort it? It's always, I'm pretty sure that most of the sorts are decreasing by date. I'm pretty sure. But you can change how this works. You can change it by, do you want days unbilled, total dollar amount, however you want to sort that. And then if you click this blue section here, it actually gives you, now I just clicked it and it's going to take a minute because there's a lot of data. Oh, and the arrow just flipped. So now instead of the date being newest to oldest, it's now oldest to newest. Okay. And so depending on how much data is in this report, it might take a second for that to flip to the correct, but it'll tell you, you don't have to interpret the icon. You can just read down here. So right now we have it sorting by the date, the newest on top. Do you want to group things? So in here, the way this is grouped is by entry type. So meaning flat fees versus time entries versus subscriptions versus client expenses. You could pick other ways to group this. Do you want to do it by office, originating attorney, by practice area? Okay, so you have different grouping options. Now, calculations is something I've not yet dove into. Oh my gosh, my English teachers in school are going to hate me because I don't know what the right word is. But calculations I've not looked at yet and gotten into this. I just haven't had a use case to figure this out. Sometimes there's things I get excited that I have access to a demo account and I can play around with things. Sometimes I need to get in here because I have a use case I'm trying to test out, and I just haven't had time to sit and go through the calculations. But it looks like there's, different, do we want to do days unbilled? So let's look at calculate. And I'm going to have to admit, this feature has been around for a couple of months and I have not yet jumped into it to figure it out, primarily because I haven't had a use case that I've needed to be able to sit and dive into this. But let's just see what calculation does. So apply a calculation to, let's do days unbilled, because one of the things I talk about as a metric is your cash lockup, which can either be in dollars or in days, but it would be days unbilled plus days of uncollected. You've billed and not yet collected your money. So let me see, days billed. Oh, let's do average. So if we click on average, and then I want to run this report. Oh my gosh. So right here, unbilled flat fees, the average days unbilled is 219.4. Okay, so now that I'm looking at this, here's the calculation that I added. So for unbilled flat fees, it looks like my average days unbilled 219.4 days. That's crazy. So that means I've got that much money sitting there. On average, 219 days it takes for me to bill on a client. And then this one's the time ticket section. The average, what's almost 735 days. And what's down here? The unbilled expenses. It takes me 329 days on average to get client costs billed. So why am I excited about this WIP report? I see this for hourly billing firms, that this is a very valuable management reporting tool, because now we can start asking operational questions like, why is attorney A carrying 3 times more unbilled work than everyone else? Or why does one practice area consistently age longer before billing? Or are we understaffed? Are attorneys not reviewing pre-bills quickly enough? Or maybe it's intake volumes overwhelming the team. So this WIP report can help expose operational pressures that may not show up on your P&L yet, because remember, most firms, at least the firms that I work with, are reporting information on a cash basis, meaning cash gets deposited into your bank account, into your operating account, and that's when it gets posted to your books and reflected on your P&L. Or you paid an expense, and when you wrote the check or you gave a credit card, that's the date that an expense shows up on your P&L. But let's talk about revenue protection, because this is probably the biggest value on this report. So this WIP report helps firms identify unbilled time and expenses before they're overlooked and forgotten. And trust me, this happens all the time, especially in busy firms. An attorney moves on to the next matter. The admin team gets behind. An invoice cycle gets delayed for whatever reason. And eventually older time becomes so much harder to bill confidently. I've seen firms lose tens of thousands of dollars annually simply because billing processes were inconsistent. And it's not because the work wasn't done. It wasn't because clients refused to pay. It's because the work never made it into an invoice to be reported in a timely manner. And that's a process problem. And then another really valuable use case here is accountability. So remember, we had the filters. You can filter by lead attorney or originating attorney to see who has work pending to be billed. Now, I want to be careful here because this shouldn't become a gotcha report. The purpose isn't to shame people. The purpose is to identify bottlenecks early enough so that you solve them. For example, maybe someone needs additional billing support. Maybe pre-bill review is taking too long. Maybe there's other workflow inefficiencies. Or maybe certain practice areas need different billing cadences. And this is all operational visibility. And let me just tell you, operational visibility improves cash flow. So you can also use this report to identify trends. For example, which practice areas generate the most unbilled work? Which clients consistently carry aging WIP? Are certain matter types taking significantly longer to invoice? This becomes valuable strategic data, especially for firms that are trying to scale, because growth without operational visibility usually creates chaos. Most cases alone do not improve profitability. You just need systems that convert work into cash collected efficiently. Here's another thing I'd like to pay attention to from this WIP report is capacity management. When you look at it by user, by timekeeper. If one user has an unusually high volume of unbilled activity, that may indicate burnout risk, staffing shortages, billing backlog, or workflow inefficiencies. And if those issues continue long enough, they eventually affect client service, cash flow, employee morale, and your profitability for your firm. So even though this looks like a billing report, it's actually so much more than that. It's also an operational health report. So finally, I love that with this WIP report, firms can filter by office, by practice area, or billing type to help get a broader view of the firm's unbilled exposure. Because at the end of the day, WIP represents future invoices, and future invoices represent future cash flow. If you don't have visibility into this pipeline, you're making financial decisions partially blind. So my recommendation is this: if you are on the advanced plan for MyCase, don't wait until month end to look at your billing activity. Instead, make sure that you're reviewing your WIP report regularly, watch for aging trends, make sure you're monitoring your billing bottlenecks, and create some accountability within your firm around timely invoicing. Because the faster you can move work from completed work to invoiced to collected money, the healthier your cash flow becomes in your firm. I hope you found this walkthrough helpful. If you use MyCase and you want help understanding what your reports are actually telling you from a financial and operational perspective, that's exactly what my accounting firm does. I work exclusively with US-based law firms to help them eliminate profit leaks, stabilize cash flow, and improve financial visibility. If this video is helpful, be sure to subscribe to this channel, leave a comment below, and share this with another law firm owner who may need to see it.